Well, good morning, good morning. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Anybody that's by some miracle is seeing this. I was just going to do a little pre-market analysis after the crazy Friday we had. If you look on the daily, pretty good drop. And so, what does that mean for today? What does that mean for this week? It's kind of tough to say, I think, at this point. We haven't technically broken structure, although we did inverse this daily gap. It's a pretty convincing sell-off. We always say price is fractal, and so to me, something I notice a lot when price is close to its sort of termination point, wherever that may be. In this case, the completion of this market maker buy model at the top of the December 16th candle, I frequently notice a big, what I always call like a shakedown, to scare people out. I notice this on the lower time frames specifically. You know, for instance, you've got a great trade on, you're way in the money, 2 to 3 RR, whatever it may be, and it's running, and then it stops right short of your target, your termination point, and just you see this precipitous drop. And so to me, it just seems like a shakeout to me. And so I'm wondering if that is a similar situation to what this is here, or if the market takes this as yet another rejection of all-time highs, and if we continue to sell off here. So that's going to kind of be what we're looking for. Today, ES also rejecting all-time highs and getting that same kind of big sell-off, also inversing this daily gap. So now we are no news Monday today, so we're not expecting very much, and definitely gonna have to be cautious on the day. I'm not gonna put on a lot of risk, just try to be responsible. Didn't have the best week last week, so just gonna kind of try to claw back some profits this week, and try to execute when setups present and when it makes sense. Looks like we got a presser this afternoon. No, this morning and this afternoon. I don't think Financial Juice has that right. It's showing a presser this morning, or I guess this afternoon at 12:20 Eastern, and then again at 2 Eastern with Macron. So that'll be certainly something to watch for. And then if we if we hop down to the lower time frames, nope. Now I done it. We do a market open in 1 minute. Looks like there we go. All right, if we head down into the lower time frames, we are coming up into this 4-hour gap. I would expect a run up above these highs if we are going to slam lower. I would hope for a run up above 813 area. Get you some, 813, and before a slam down with the target being, well, low a day, and then, well, that's not low a day. I'm sorry, that's last week's low at 654 being the first target, and then maybe a secondary target down there at the 513s. So that could certainly be an interesting play. Got a pretty good sell here, sell candle on the hourly. But also, oh, that was something else I wanted to point out. If this will load, we're a little bit slow this morning. Why are we not loading? There we go. London did take Asia low and high. So there's definitely some seek and destroy price action going on in the pre-market. Now, since that was pre-market, that does sort of lend itself to potentially a breakout and some good price action this morning, which is kind of what I'm hoping for. So what I want to see is a move up above, take out London high, and then a slam to go see PDL here after a while. But the problem is there's really not a macro driver that I can see that would sort of facilitate that. So you know, we're just gonna keep an open mind and see what price gives us. Again, Monday, no news. I'm gonna play it a little bit cautious here. Similar story on ES as well.
Friday. It's a Monday of NFP week, right? Oh no, that's next week is NFP. Oh, and there's no news today. Yeah, I don't have high expectations for today either. First 5 minutes of the open, it looked like it just...
We have a lot of catching up to do to companies, relative to companies that have been around for 5 or 10 or 20 years. We're catching up fast. I think with the velocity of improvement of XAI is faster than any other company out there. We were just able to install and bring online a massive new training center that we're, like as mentioned, we're building in Memphis, and it's from beginning hardware installation to it beginning training was only 19 days. And that's the fastest by far that anyone's been able to do that. So we're moving quickly, but we're still catching up. And so if you use...
Catching up to who?
Well, catching up to, say, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, and the others.
And this new system, how powerful is it compared, let's say, to ChatGPT?
What we're doing in the Memphis data center is we're actually training Grok 3. So that'll probably finish training in about 3 or 4 months, and then there'll be some fine-tuning and bug fixing and whatnot. And we're hoping to release...
So yes, just took London low there. Yeah, let's see if this has some legs or if it turns around here. It's tough to say. Really wish NQ would have grabbed that London high. We could have, well, no, I mean, we're not clear to trade for another 3 minutes, but it would have just been a lot nicer and cleaner. We would have got London high first, and then I would have felt pretty good about a slam to potentially PDL. Let's go back to the daily and see what that looks like. So, yeah. Yeah. I think if we close below PDL today, that's probably going to give me the indication that price wants lower this week, potentially. If we wick PDL, then I'll look at Monday as the Judas and be looking for further indication. That in and of itself is not enough to give me indication that we're going to return higher and maybe hit all-time highs, but it'd be a pretty good profile for the week. So and there's the new week opening gap as well on both indices. So kind of a point of interest here. No 5-minute gaps that I can see to work off of for the upside so far. So that's something we're going to be looking for. We're still up about 20 basis points on both indices just from the overnight. So not really anything telling there. I think it's probably telling in the idea that it's kind of reinforces our thought that No News Monday might just kind of be a tepid day. So. 'We'll see. On the 4-hour, it does kind of look like it's rejecting out of this 4-hour gap. So, you know, it just kind of depends on if you want to believe it or not, I think, at this point. Same with yes. All right, we've got a 5-minute gap now. I'll be interested in the reaction off of this. I feel like last week I got a little less patient, and that's kind of what ended up biting me, especially on Friday, which wasn't a big red day, but I just could feel myself kind of hunting for trades. So I'm going to try to go back to what I'm good at, which is waiting until it's like a slap you in the face kind of obvious setup. And and just try to be a little bit more reserved and cautious and kind of slow and steady. Well, so far this is looking good for lower, but oh, we do have a gap as well. Right there. Yeah, it just sucks that it's right at that new week opening gap. I mean, it's looking good for a rejection, but whoa. What was that? What in the world? Well, that's some garbage. We'll leave that 5-minute on there because now that becomes a really interesting inversion possibility since it's already been rejected off of. We'd want to potentially look at that for an inversion. Okay, there's PDL on NQ. Let's bump out here and see about this SMT potential. It's a pretty big melt. Wow. Does the sell-off continue? Where we left off at the end of the last week? Next target is, first this 4-hour gap at 552, but then just below that, the 513s. Golly, what a slam. Jeez. My gosh. right, there's PDL on ES as well, so no S&T off the bottom. I'm not seeing anything coming across on Financial Juice. So really want to see how we react here off the prior day low. This is going to be a super important area, really for the rest of the week, potentially. Four-hour close here in about 5 minutes. Wow. I will say it doesn't really look like it's giving signs of letting up yet. So far. Jeez. Man, at a certain point you just want to hop in short, but we don't short the lows. So it is starting to look like that target down there, the 513s, is probably what we're looking for. On NQ being the weaker pair. Ever so slightly. Nice little retrace here. Let's check the 15. So I'm gonna get rid of that gap now because it's just a little bit high. Jeez. The sell-off continues. My goodness. I don't even know. Didn't even retrace to a 1 minute gap. I guess if you're playing the 30-second, maybe you got some options, but this is wild. Kind of a continuation from Friday, it looks like. Nothing coming across the wire that I see. Oh, wait, hold on. No, that was 6 Eastern. Apple under the threat from Trump tariffs will add 20,000 U.S. jobs. That doesn't. I saw the threat part. Thought negative. All right, well, I mean, if you were super aggressive, you could take a 1 minute retest of this order block right here. Pretty tight stop and try to ride it down to the 513 area. again, we got a 4-hour close here coming up in a little over a minute. Yeah, not really any signs of letting up here. Maybe this 4-hour will give us a retrace back up into that 5-minute gap that we could try to work off of for further downside. But I'm firmly in the downside camp now. All right, there's the 4-hour close. It's about 45 points up to that 5-minute gap. Up here. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. Man, I don't know what's going on with my computer, but it is certainly slow this morning. That's a pretty convincing close on the 4-hour. Sure makes it look like it wants that I guess the low there is 510.75. Man, that's frustrating. Wow. What a ripper. That's crazy. Just zero chance. Oh, I mean, basically, I mean, I guess if you were just strictly working off the 1 minute. But even then, look, well, I mean, oh, here, one more, I'll try here. There's not even a 1 minute gap retrace. It didn't even technically come up and test this 1 minute order block. Dang. Yeah, I don't really know what to do about that. I guess there's nothing to be done. And the patience part of my little spiel earlier is where this is kind of comes into play. Okay, well, there's that second target already, 30 minutes into the open. Man, what a melt. What a melt. A lot of energy here. I think if you can find an opportunity to get short, it probably is a good idea. Very volatile today. Definitely gonna want to size down a little bit. We're just all gas here. Here's a 6,000 psych level on ES, so, you know, I don't know if that'll hold us up at all or not. Very volatile. The ATR is likely super high. So definitely want to make sure we're sizing down with anything we're doing. And you're going to have to give well, I mean, I don't know. I was going to say give the trade some room to breathe, but if you've been shorting, you really haven't had to do that at all. Man, that's wild. Wild. And the crazy part is there's nothing on the wire that says that I'm seeing. Not even a 1 minute retracement, folks. It's almost like pointless to look at the lower time frames because it's just all down. Might as well just look at the higher time frames and different targets. Now, I mean, 418 is let's see what it exactly is. It's 418 is the next target. All gas here, folks. But you gotta have a plan. You cannot short the bottom and just like try to average in, because you'll panic on any retracement and it's just not worth it. Jeez. Straight down. Risk off day for sure. People are definitely risk off. Alright, okay, a little buy up here. Still no 1 minute gap. Back over to NQ so you know what I'm talking about. Finally, a little bit of a buy up. How much time left on the 5? Got another minute and a half on the 5. Big buy up. Really need this 5 minute to close. I think it just is about to retrace into this 1 minute gap, and there it is. There's a 1 minute gap retrace right there. First one, pretty much all morning, as far as and so much as I can tell. Can you imagine if this was a liquidity purge? How crazy would that be? All right. Looks like we're gonna have a 5 minute gap here on NQ. Yep, there it is. So we want to mark that out. Wait for it to retrace into it. And then, oh man. And then wait for some confirmation out of it, which there is that nice 1 minute gap right there. So you could, I mean, it's been so heavy, you could absolutely take a blind short, you know, at the fair value gap. I would not behoove you that one bit. I will say though, very volatile conditions. You just kind of got to be careful. What was that before? Oh, NQ's PDL. NQ's PDL is up there at the 652 area. So if you're looking for a PDL retest, then that might be something. But that's I mean, that'd be a big retrace, especially with what we've seen so far this morning. But just throwing ideas out here. We have a 15-minute close here in a couple minutes too. Something to keep an eye out for. With the top being 581. So pretty big buy up here. We are 120 points or so off the lows. Okay. Here in about 30 seconds, we're going to be more interested in the 15-minute gap and what it does with that now. So I took the 5-minute off. I mean, it's a huge gap, though. Not a lot to work with. It'll be a 100-point gap. NQ inversing the 5-minute that we were interested in. So if you're somehow bullish, more power to you. Let's see where we're at on ES. Okay. All right, we need a 580 retest for the 15-minute. Not yet. ES, yep, ES has. And so has NQ. I think. Right? 80-25? Oh, no, it hasn't. 80-50. NQ did not. Are we going to leave 417 down there? Boy. Okay, let's see. Okay, so NQ bounced up in there, looks like. We are fixing to have a BPR potentially here in about a minute and a half. So... and macro coming up. 2 minutes. I am a little worried that maybe we start chopping here, but I mean, the energy's been, there's been a lot of energy to the downside, so sometimes you kind of got to just believe what the market's telling you. I think. All right, no BPR. Whoa. I don't think I'm gonna sell that pie up. Good golly, Holly. Or am I? I don't know yet. Golly, now it's sold down. Oh, did ES come up and tap that? It did. ES came up and tapped its PDL for a retest, so this will be a pretty important area. Methinks. Oh, maybe it didn't tap the PDO. It came close, though. Really nothing I want to talk about. I mean, it's just kind of, I think most volume is kind of dried up here. It's just sort of a slow grind back to the downside. Yeah, it's kind of a slow grind back down, unfortunately. I mean, there were a lot of opportunities to get short. It's just, do you want to sit through it? Might be waiting for that hourly candle. Yeah, it's kind of gotten ugly here. We are starting a macro pretty quick, but it's just kind of been a slow grind. That is just a paper trade. I'm not actually in anything. Just kind of seeing if we're gonna get that last kind of drop. In fact, let me just take it off. It's distracting.
Today we're going to be wrapping up phase 1 of our springtime overhaul on the Ugly truck. And if all goes according to plan, we are going to be going on our very first test drive, doing some tuning, and we're probably going to be doing some burnouts. Because, I mean, obviously that's what you do. Now, my goals for this phase of the project are fairly simple but ambitious. I want to take this 5,100-pound extended cab two-wheel drive Silverado, and I want to run a 9-second quarter-mile pass, and I also want to produce 1,000 horsepower, which, I mean, mathematically, we kind of need to do if we want to run a 9-second pass at that weight. Now, the way that most people would accomplish both of these goals is fairly simple, but kind of boring in my opinion. You just go get a 6-liter LS, throw a stroker crank in it, make a 408, throw some boost or nitrous or both at it, and then there you go. You get a 9-second truck. But
All right, I think I like this for a short. Back down if we, sorry you guys, if we inverse this 1 minute gap. I think I'll probably take that. Or we do end up heading up for that 1 hour gap. That'd be a pretty big buy up. Excuse me. All right, we had a 1 hour close. We just took the 5 minute candle high. That's something to watch. So we had the 1 hour close, and then we just took that previous 5 minute candle high before the 1 hour closed. I think that's a Trader Mike candle confirmation model potentially that he talks about. So. $10.50. Oh, $10.50. What's that? $10.41. And there's $10.41. Okay, we do have an SMT with ES and NQ. So we'll be watching that. The counter trend trade would be back up to that 1 hour gap if you were interested, but we've been so heavy, or at least we were pretty heavy this morning, so there's a lot of energy. I don't particularly care for that play myself. That SMT is still holding on ES. Also, remember what we talked about with a potential Judas day this morning. Now we've on NQ, we've displaced pretty well below that previous day low, but I mean, that's still in the cards potentially, is for this to be a Judas and the draw to be higher. So it's something to consider at least. There's an inverse gap retest.
Войска, почти 200 тысяч солдат, тысячи боевых машин гражданам России. Не как президент. Я обращаюсь к российским гражданам как гражданин Украины. С вами нас разделяет более 2000 километров общей границы. Вдоль нее сегодня стоят ваши войска, почти 200 тысяч солдат, тысячи боевых машин. Ваше руководство одобрило их шаг вперед на территорию другой страны. И этот шаг может стать началом большой войны на европейском континенте. Точно знаем, нам не нужна война, не холодная, не горячая, не гибридная. Но если на нас
Order filled. Order filled.
Будут наступать войска, если у нас попытаются отнять нашу страну, нашу свободу, наши жизни, жизни наших детей, мы будем защищать.
I didn't want to do that because LSs are boring. I mean, now, I initially turbocharged this truck way back in the fall of 2020, and it has been running, I mean, honestly, it's been running amazing. When we started this, the honest truth is I never expected it was going to last as long as it has. These 8.1s, they don't have the best reputation, but I've kind of made it my personal goal to change that, to prove everybody wrong who says, oh, the 8.1s are garbage, they won't hold up, and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, best of 800 and change for horsepower, 1,100 pounds of torque. But this engine has always been on the stock head, stock intake, and it just, and the turbo that I put on it didn't breathe all that well. So, like I said, I'm convinced we've got it in it. We're gonna go a lot faster with this engine. So it's gonna, I think maybe the only thing I'll change is the hot side. This is a 132 96 wheel. Now I like these T-bolt clamps because they're in. I wonder if the IAC motor is even working. So where did it go? Oh, inch inlet versus the 4-inch of the single time I get in it. Especially every time I get into the throttle, it's just so much fun. When it comes to building hot rods, there's so many different ways you can do it. Well, actually, I take that back. There's two different ways you can build a fast car. One, you can take a smaller displacement or a short stroke engine, and you can make it produce all kinds of high RPM horsepower, you know, rev to the moon, that kind of a thing. Or you can take a giant engine with a really long stroke and produce tons of torque without having to spin so fast. And every single time I choose the big, torquey, powerful, big block. Like this truck, it gets up, it moves with so little throttle. And then when you do finally get into throttle, it's like all hell breaks loose. So I love big blocks. I love LSs. I love all engines. But big blocks hold a special place in my heart. Now I hope the sound translates on the microphone the way it does in here, but the whistle from this turbo is just, oh, it's addictive. Like that sound it makes is just nuts. Here we go. That's like not even half throttle, and that's the speed limit, plus or minus the speed limit. I mean, I have to collect data, right? Try to get on it just a little bit here. Don't have a lot of space, but I want to see what it's going to do. spins, of course, in first gear. All right, here we go. Second gear roll on. Spins. Woo-hoo! Hold on to it. Good thing we got those brakes. Yesterday, I was looking at the RPM and they were just kind of like fluctuating up and down, and that's either wheel slip, which is possible, it's either a component slipping inside the transmission, or it's blowing through the torque converter, for lack of a better term. This transmission is basically stock. I rebuilt it, oh goodness, I rebuilt it a couple years ago, and it's seen a lot of abuse. So I'm wondering,
RV solar can be a game changer, but how much does it really cost? I built an entire system for my RV, and today I'm going to break down the components, the costs, some hidden costs, and give you more information about what it's like to build one of these systems. Now before we get started on this video, I want to give a huge shout out to Signature Solar, our channel sponsor. You guys have been amazing to work with. The equipment, the service, the people, you guys are awesome. We absolutely love working with you guys, and we're so thankful for the partnership. Now let's get this video started. What's up everyone? Welcome back to One Strange Adventure. Welcome to the next video. In today's video, we're talking about solar systems and how much do they really cost. Now you might be asking yourself, why should I add solar to my RV? Here's a couple reasons that we did. One, we just wanted to be able to go out and be able to hang out in the desert if we wanted to. Like, we don't want to have to be tied to the grid all the time. Number two would be when we have an extended long trip, we like to boondock for one night. And it's nice to not have to worry about running the generator. So we're able to go to a place, park it for a night, and then head on the next day. Now there's obviously some benefits to having a solar system in your RV. One is the off-grid camping, not having to run your generator. Another one would be long-term cost savings. You're not adding fuel, you're not adding the maintenance costs to that generator all the time. All right, now that we've talked about the benefits of having a solar system in our RV, let's start breaking down some of the major components. Let's talk about how much they cost.
We've got 4 EG4 12 volts, 400 amp hours each. We have 2 Lynx distributors. We have a smart shunt. We have 2 multi-plus 2s. We have 2 solar chargers. The MPPTs 150, 100s. 1200 watts each is going to be going to those bad boys.
The first one is going to be the Victron Multi-Plus 2. We had 2 of these inverters. They're rated at 3000 watts each. What does an inverter do? It simply takes DC power and converts that to AC power. So you're able to run your appliances and things like that off of your batteries. Now, why did we go with Victron components? Well, they're recognized across the industry as being highly reliable, and they're pretty easy to use. So we went ahead and went with the Victron just because of that reliability and the ease of use. Now you might be asking yourself, why did we go with 2 inverters? Well, the reason we went with 2 inverters is because we wanted to be able to have 3000 watts or up to 3000 watts per line. And we wanted to be able to run it in a split phase, since 50 amp is a split phase coming in. So there's line 1 and line 2. And we wanted to have, or line 1 powered by one inverter and line 2 powered by the other inverter. So that's why we went with a 2 inverter setup. Another thing that Victron does really well is the hybrid power assist. That means if we ever go on a 30 amp pedestal, then we can actually use our batteries to make up the difference. So it's like we still have 50 amp. So we'll be using some of the shore power and then using the batteries to make up the rest, which is pretty cool. Now the costs. The 2 inverters cost about $2,200 together. So you have to buy them separately. They don't come as a package, but it is about $1,100 per inverter. This is the 12 volt 3K. The next major component we're going to talk about is our charge controllers. Now, we have 2 of those because we wanted to go a little bit higher with our solar panels. We have 2400 watts. So we ran 1200.
Okay, we are coming into the 1150 macro. I still went lower. Again, I don't do a lot of counter trend trading. The 1 hour, the 4 hours bearish, 1 hour's bearish, and we're coming up into this 1 hour gap. NQ just tapped. Y'all may have seen me pull a fib there. NQ just tapped the 50 fib. Oh, pardon me. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm on the lower time frame. So NQ just tapped the 50 fib right there. And so what we'd really like to see during this macro is some displacement down, some inversions, and I would feel a little bit better about shorts here. Now, I mean, this is also what I'm struggling with is this is a pretty good buy up. You know, I could also see a case for going higher. ES much stronger. Now it's come back up to retest this new week opening gap, so that's also a consideration for potential more downside. I just can't sort of shake that. Today feels like a Judas day for a run back up the rest of the week, and so I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm a little bit in limbo here. I did take a loser earlier on a short, yeah, and just a small one, about 23 points on one micro, so did have a loser there. Again, not interested in putting a lot of risk on today. However, if we get this play, I may entertain taking a little bit larger of a position. So we'll see what it gives us. Nice, really nice BPR on the one. Here, let me get there where you can see it. I always call them triple BPRs. I don't think it means much, but so if that BPR gets violated, that'll kind of give me a pretty good indication that we want to go lower, I hope. But I've just not been calling price well the last week and a half, 2 weeks, so we'll see. Not a lot of movement in this macro, unfortunately.
Watts to each of the charge controllers in series. So the voltage goes up, the amperage stays low. Both of these charge controllers were 150 100s, and that means that they are able to take in 150 volts, up to 150 volts from the panels and produce 100 amps of charge back to the batteries. Just a lot. Again, we went with the Victron equipment here just because they actually keep the batteries from overcharging, which is really nice. It'll cut off once it kind of tops off the batteries. And then if it senses that it needs the solar again, it'll cut them back on and actually pull the solar in and start charging the batteries up again. So that's really nice. Again, it's Victron. It has Bluetooth capability and it connects to the app. Makes it very easy to kind of monitor what's going in and coming out of our battery system. Now these solar chargers cost about $1,050. Now they cost a little bit more because they are larger and able to handle more wattage. Now let's talk about the batteries. The batteries are EG4 batteries. They're 12 volt. We have 4 of them. Each of them is rated at 400 amp hours, meaning we have a battery bank of 1600 amp hours. Today is the day that we get to finish the battery system. I have the walls down already. You see there's only 2. I ran out of terminal lugs. I ran out of lugs, and when you're in the desert, it takes forever to get another set. So I've been running on 2. I've got the other 2 in the front bay, and I'm getting ready to switch these over to there and then wire it all in so that I have 4 batteries, and that's 1600 amp hours. So we'll be doing that today. Inverters, everything is running good. Right now it's actually inverting because I cut the power to the rig. So we're just running on those 2 batteries right now. Getting ready to run on 4. We're gonna charge those up. We'll charge those up, get them topped off, and then be on our way. It's a lot of juice and it will keep us going for a while. We can actually, with the solar that we have and the batteries, we can run an AC going down the road pretty much indefinitely as long as we're getting full sunlight, which has been really nice. These batteries have been so amazing. Highly recommend them. Another reason we went with the server rack batteries is actually because they have to be up to code for commercial and residential use. That means they actually have fire suppression built into them. A lot of other batteries on the market don't have that. So if something was to happen internally in that battery, it will basically pop a tube and take itself out before it catches fire, which gives me a little bit more peace of mind. Now there's been a couple times when we stored the RV and it's just sitting in the middle of the field and we don't even come close to using the battery. We might go down to 94%. solar tops it back off. It goes back down to 94 overnight, solar tops it off, never runs out, which has been really nice. Now for 4 of these batteries, you're looking at about $5,200. Sounds expensive, but when you actually start comparing them to other brands, you're going to find that this is a really good value. You get more amp hours for the cost, and they're lighter for the amount of amp hours that you're getting, which is a win-win for the RV life. Now there's a couple other pieces of Victron equipment that I want to talk about. One is the Lynx distributor. It's a really nice bus bar, and it's able to hold all your fuses as well. It makes it so much easier to connect everything and just tie it all together. I highly recommend using that, and it's another Victron component, so you know it's going to work well with the rest of the components. Now the Lynx distributor runs just over $400, but when I shop around and I look at other bus bars, it's pretty comparable for what you're getting. Now the shunt is actually going to connect directly to your Lynx distributor, and it's going to monitor everything that's going in and out of your batteries. So it's going to tell you that's the communication channel back to the servo, which we're going to talk about next. That's a communication channel back to that, so that it can tell how much voltage or how many amps are running in and out of your battery bank. That's pretty nice. It's made it way better to have. Now if you're going to go with Victron, I highly recommend going with the servo and the servo touchscreen. It is the communication hub, so your batteries, your Lynx shunt, your chargers, your solar chargers, your inverters, everything is going to plug right into that and give you that nice pretty display to let you know what's going into your batteries, what's coming out of your batteries, what's coming from the grid, what's going to the appliances. Just gives you a great view of the overall system as it's working. Now once you add the servo and the touchscreen, you're looking at about $600 for that. Another major component we need to talk about are the solar panels. Now the solar panels that we
We have, for the time being, and again, I'm still just, I can't get out of my short bias here, but we have an SMT off the top between ES and NQ. We're still holding this 1 hour gap. Obviously, it's a huge gap. So, you know, like I mentioned, 1 hour, 4 hour, both bearish still. We have this 1 minute BPR that's holding us up that I laid out earlier. Would really like to see that violated. The problem is Trump's talking at the moment. Oh, wow. Okay, so EU expands tariff list in Trump's looming metals trade dispute. Okay, so that's, according to people familiar with the matter, the European Union is expanding the list of U.S. goods that will face retaliatory tariffs if President Donald Trump follows through on his threat to impose tariffs on steel and aluminum exports. That is objectively negative. So that kind of plays into our thesis as well. Hopefully it'll send price lower here soon. We are exiting the lunch macro here. Would really like to see this SMT hold and then a slam lower. No indication of that just yet. Starting to think my bias is wrong. Good golly, Holly. Well, I mean, we'll stick with the conditions we've laid out.
on an every second, whatever, okay? And the fact of the matter is that the equal weight NASDAQ has performed really well year to date. Don't necessarily look at the top, which he suggests has come off the boil. But if you look at AI software is up 14%, cyber's up 13%, internet's up 10%, analog semis are up 8%. The equal weight NDX is up 6%. That's equal to last year's entire return.
What were they up 3 weeks ago? They've come
Steve,
down.
What is a moment in time? It's year to date. Let's call the year to date is a moment in time. I mean, you see what the trends of the market are. It's okay to talk about.
Just trying to figure out when exactly when the presser is, so I can, because financial juice has it as 2 different times, or maybe there's 2 different pressers. I'm not sure, but. It does appear that the miracle has happened, and there's been up to 4 views today, so that's pretty wild. I'm not sure who's finding this stream, but thank you for watching, however briefly. I know there's not a lot going on. There's nobody to talk to. That doesn't help anything, but do try to add some value where we can through analysis and narrative. And for now, the narrative is a little bit difficult. Still watching this 1 minute BPR here to see if we can't get a violation and a run back down, seeing as the higher time frame is still bearish on the 4. And on the 1. So okay, there's a liquidity run potentially on NQ. The S&T is invalidated. NQ just kind of stair-stepping higher here. That sometimes bodes well, especially coming in. We got a minor macro coming in. Getting a little bit of volatility injected here. Let's check in. I don't see anything. Let's check in on ES on the 1 hour, because I'm starting to get a bullish feeling on ES. Yeah. I mean, we've already mentioned this morning, ES is the stronger asset. Coming up into the PDL retest here on NQ, so that'll be something to kind of pay attention to and watch. Yeah, just got it right there. So, hey, if you're in the chat, drop a comment or like so I know you're there, and tell me what you're looking for, if you're bullish, bearish. I'd be interested to hear. ES starting to certainly look a little more bullish here. If we flip back to NQ, there's that PDL retest coming up on the CE of this 1 hour gap. A lot of low resistance liquidity back down to the downside. And again, if you are just joining, I'm still bearish on the day. Although ES is starting to push higher. You know, sometimes you just kind of have to believe what the market's telling you. And again, for now, we are bearish on the 1 hour, the 4 hour. The daily is inverse to gap, and so we really want our higher time frames to match our lower time frames, and that's really where big pulls and high win rate comes from. I will say ES not displacing below and staying below its prior day low doesn't have me terribly confident in this bias, but I do think there's an opportunity for more downside. May have to see what the 1250 macro gives us. That's been a pretty solid one for, I don't know, the last month or so. There's been ample opportunity. Good volume injection. So, but that's still 27 minutes away, give or take. I think one could certainly, potentially, look at this PDL retest on NQ as manipulation. It's still very early, I would say, but especially if we dip down to the 1 minute, where was our defined range? It was right here. And now this is still with the trend, and so even though we did consolidate for a little bit, so if we see a run back down here, that would potentially lend itself to higher conviction setup. Yeah, ES is still trying for higher. Certainly makes it difficult. Nice. Oh wow, nice little 5 minute there. Wow, man, we may have to try that. Darn it. Just kind of dying on the vine here. This area on ES is, I mean, it is interesting though for potential higher. Maybe waiting till this afternoon to kind of see what it gives us. It's tough to, a little bit tough to tell. But I will say again, if you're struggling with any kind of consistency, a lot of the time, just simply waiting for the higher time frame and the lower time frame and the intermediate time frame to align generally ends up in higher probability trades. If you're not trying to trade every single move, counter trend and trend, and simply wait for the time frames to line up, and then find your entry, find your setup, and execute. And so I had trouble with that a little bit last week. I think I got impatient, and and it's tough. I mean, because you see some of these guys on X that seemingly they find trades everywhere, and not only do they find trades, they find successful trades. And I'm not being naive, I don't think, on how much kind of dishonesty, I guess is probably the word, how much dishonesty is on there. But there's also guys that I've been in their groups before, and I know that they are, generally speaking, successful traders. And those guys are the ones I'm referring to, where you do see them. You see them able to find trades pretty much all the time, and they win very consistently. And so that makes it hard sometimes to stay patient when you see stuff like that. All right, we're getting a little bit of a drop here. We're at the 12:30 hour, so no macro just yet. Sorry, let me jump back over to NQ. Any shorts we take will be on NQ. It's the weaker asset. It's just kind of been stair-stepping up, which can potentially lend itself to a nice quick rundown. So it's certainly something we'll be watching. That's a good PDL retest right there, and then a little bit of a rundown lower. This 1 minute BPR is what's held us up. So I think as far as a full pull today, that will probably be what our validation point, an inversion of that. Let's see what ES is doing. But then on the flip side, ES, and this is where you really have to be careful, ES is looking pretty bullish. It's just closed back above its new week opening gap. You got the midnight open sitting up there, New York AM, London. So it's getting a little bit difficult to ignore that sort of bullish narrative on ES. But ignore I shall. For now. Has not closed on the 15 minute above the CE. On the 5, it did close above the CE of that 1 hour gap. Again, we have that 1250 macro coming up in 15 minutes. That may be where we get a nice move. So I'll be paying attention to that. Still keeping an eye on the news. Just looking for that Macron presser with Trump, because you know there's no telling what'll come out of that. All right, that's a 5-minute close on NQ, and we closed at the low of the gap, the little 5-minute gap right there. Probably can't even see it. So did ES. NQ selling off a little bit, but I would not call that convincing at all. I think the market's kind of in wait and see mode and maybe waiting until PM session. It's a nice response to that 5-minute gap by ES. Okay, it looks like Trump and Macron are talking at the moment. Okay, we have our macro coming in 3 minutes, so we're going to be paying extra close attention here. This 5-minute busy on NQ is interesting to me, and so let's keep an eye on that. That big candle is from NQ tapping its new week opening gap up there. Or maybe just coming just short of it looks like, but nonetheless. Now that's 2 rejections of PDL. That might be interesting. For a short, no? Maybe not. Disregard what I say, I guess. That's a pretty good buy up, but I would have thought that two rejections would be pretty solid. 1 minute to the macro. I think if we get it closed below this 5 minute gap, on the 1 minute, I think I will probably try to participate in a short, but man, I don't know. Yes, still looks so bullish. We may have to wait for a 5 minute inversion.
Order filled.
All right, I'm short at 25. Just one contract. Put a stop up above at 45. We got a 1 minute inversion. I was late to the game. See if we can sustain it or if this is just part of the trend line. Either way, this will be my last trade of the day. Guess maybe I should go to the right asset. Really hoping we get the CISD with this inversion and this can hold up a little bit. I may add on the retrace if so. Come on, hold in there. 2, 1. Okay. Are we gonna get wrecked here? Is that what's about to happen? So we better check on ES and see what it did. It held that gap, but naturally. Got a little bit of a sick sister situation here. Big volatility injection. Trump's talking, so this is kind of a bad idea. I think I'm gonna stick with one contract here and just kind of see where it takes us. I may go break even after the relative low at 605. Oh, Trump said something about tariffs on Europe still. think you having a hard time getting past the 600 psych level. Okay, I'm break even on the trade. I'm not convinced of my short bias for starters. So I think that's probably a good move, just to go break even, let it do what it wants to do. I'd love a run back down to, low a day or 413, but it just does not seem like that's probably going to happen today. Kind of looks like it might tag us out here. Alright, let's get slammed down. Come on. Big rejection here. See if we can get some volatility.
Order filled.
Okay, stopped out break even on that trade. Yeah, it's not very good conditions, I wouldn't say, so far. Was hoping we'd get a bigger slam. But I think we're going to call it a stream there, folks. And we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Till then, I'll see you.